Welcome to Pixarize's scene for Zinc, part of our series on the vitamins. This scene gives us an up-close and, way too personal look at an erotic novelist's creative process. This guy is widely known for his bestseller, 50 Grades of Malignancy, a story in which a cancer scare makes a woman realize that all she really wants out of life is to make passionate love to many, many gorgeous oncologists. I haven't read it, but I don't not want to read it. Let's just get started. First, we should take stock of the scene. It's clear that our author is suffering from a pretty intense case of writer's block. He's shirtless, he's angry, he's knocked over all his ink out of frustration. Wait, ink? Yeah, wow, this guy actually writes his drafts with a feather pen and ink. But I guess that's not really the weirdest part of his process. Anyway, all of this old-timey spilled ink is here to make us think of zinc. Inky, kinky zinc. Now shift your attention to our author's hand holding that ridiculous quill. See those ink-covered or zinc fingers? Zinc is involved in a ton of enzymatic reactions, over 100 actually. It just gets tossed around from enzyme to enzyme, and the enzymes just have their way with zinc. You don't need to know about all these reactions, but you should remember that zinc is, unsurprisingly, a crucial component of zinc fingers. Zinc finger refers to a specific protein motif that comprises a folded protein sequence stabilized by a coordinating zinc ion. Proteins with zinc fingers bind DNA or RNA motifs and function as transcriptional regulators and nucleases. You can remember zinc fingers by recalling our author's inky fingers. Yeah, just remember those sticky, dirty, inky fingers. Alright, the rest of this scene is going to cover the clinical findings in a zinc deficiency, and we'll start by inspecting our author's bare, bloodied chest. He must have been pulling his chest hairs and scratching himself. You see, his secret to writing the steamiest, most pleasure-inducing literature is masochism. Nothing like a little self-mutilation to get the creative juices flowing towards all the right parts of the body, am I right? No? Alright. Well, as you drink in his shirtlessness, you'll immediately notice that big, self-inflicted gash on his abdomen. That's to remind us that zinc deficiency impairs wound healing. Blunted wound healing results from an impaired type 3 collagenase enzyme, a major player in extracellular matrix reorganization, and one of our promiscuous zinc's many enzymatic partners. You'll also see that he's been tearing out his chest hair because the pain fuels his genius. This is to remind us that zinc deficiency leads to the loss of adult hair in the axillary, facial, and pubic regions. I bet you this sicko particularly enjoys pulling out his pubic hair. Sorry. Don't let your kids watch this. Now, raise your gaze to our author's messed up face. You'll notice that his intense need to pull out his hair extends to his beard. All that pulling has left the area around his mouth red and inflamed. And this isn't just to further remind us that facial hair is lost in zinc deficiency. It's also meant to symbolize the symptoms of acrodermatitis enteropathica, which notably includes a perioral rash. Acrodermatitis enteropathica isn't actually a symptom of zinc deficiency, it's a cause. It's an autosomal recessive disorder affecting the absorption of zinc in the mucous membrane of the small intestine via a mutated zinc transporter. The hallmark of the disease is a vesicular and pustular rash that surrounds the body orifices. The presence of a perioral rash is symbolized by our author's inflamed mouth, and if we look to his right, we can see a pair of his pants draped over his chair. Does that mean he's not wearing any under the desk? I don't know why this surprises me. Anyway, you can use your own imagination to explain the big tattered hole in the crotch area of the pants, but I can tell you that in our scene, it represents the perianal rash in acrodermatitis enteropathica. Now, back to his face and back to the general features of a zinc deficiency. We can see that our guy is wearing a nose plug. I guess he's going for total sensory deprivation here. This nose plug represents anosmia, or the inability to smell, which is commonly seen in zinc deficiency. Next, shift your attention to his desk and his midday snack. Looks like he's prepped himself a nice, tasteless bowl of gruel to stay consistent with his weird sensory deprivation self-punishment thing. This tasteless gruel represents dysgeusia, or the inability to taste, which often accompanies the anosmia in zinc deficiency. And if we peek inside the bowl, we'll notice he's topped his gruel with 2 shriveled old tomatoes. Boy, you sure are lucky that shriveled tomatoes are a recurring symbol for hypogonadism, because who knows how we would have chosen to represent it here otherwise. But yeah, shriveled tomato hypogonadism is present in the setting of zinc deficiency. Boring, but effective. Finally, look to the right of the dysgeusia gruel bowl at that bulging, rock-hard rock on his desk. You'll notice it looks exactly like a certain part of the human anatomy. That's right, it looks exactly like the liver. What? No, that was the shriveled tomatoes, remember? This liver rock is our recurring symbol for cirrhosis, and patients with a zinc deficiency are at an increased risk for developing alcoholic cirrhosis. Not this guy, though. He's a teetotaling trichotillomaniac. That's the word for uncontrollable urge to pull out your own hair. Yeah, I just wanted an excuse to show off that I knew it. Mission accomplished. Alright, I think we're all sufficiently uncomfortable and ready to finish up this scene for zinc deficiency. Now that you know everything about zinc, the only thing keeping you from demolishing zinc-related board questions will be your brain's desire to repress this entire scene from your memory. But hey, repression's a topic for some psych scene down the line. Until next time.